Listen, you know what time it is. It's time for another episode of your favorite new podcast entitled We Hate You in an App.
I'm
Appreciate
blown
that.
away.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Yeah.
Inspiration, right? One of the things that we've been talking about, and it's kind of been sprinkled out throughout all the conversation, is being inspired. Um, and then this will be kind of about a two-part question. So the first part, we'll say, what are some of, or who, or what are some of your inspirations personally, as far as in your journey in art and in business?
Ooh, that's a good question because I have a lot of inspirations. A lot of them aren't artists. That's an interesting thing. And, some of them have recently caused controversy. So I prefer.
Yeah.
I used to really, there was a point where I was super inspired by Kanye West as an artist. A lot has gone on with him, but there was a time where I was like well into like wanting to build a world within my art, and that's kind of what he's done, and that's what I enjoyed. There's a time where Basquiat was a big inspiration for me. Um, Kehinde Wiley is an artist who I really found inspiration in since high school. I just try to find inspiration all around me, honestly. It's hard to explain. But in my art, I use the motif of a butterfly. And a butterfly represents lupus. And that's what my mom had. And when I grew up, just seeing how that altered her life and mine personally, I decided, like, if this thing is gonna change my life so much, let me turn it into something beautiful.
Metamorphosis.
Yeah. And then, the idea of metamorphosis and transformation and change is always kind of something I tie into my artwork too.
Anything? Before I move on to the second part?
No, it made me a little emotional, actually. It really did. I think it's beautiful.
Thank you.
Second point, and you kind of alluded to it anyway, is the idea of inspiration, and you'd be surprised where inspiration can come from. And I think the point that I really want to kind of point out is why connection is so important, and why we as human beings need to value and we need to value connection more, because in our isolation, we're trying to accomplish things. You have goals that you want to accomplish. Even if you want to utilize your talent to be able to accomplish those goals, you have to be, inspiration comes from, a lot of times comes from outside of your lane that you're in. You know what I mean? Because the reality is that no one person is an island unto themselves. Creativity, matter of fact, is really a collaborative process. Even if you're not officially collaborating with anyone, you are inspired by random people, random events that you meet. And so that's why it's really, really important. And y'all can tune in, y'all can kind of chime in on this. That's why it's really important that you understand the value of connecting with other human beings. You know what I mean? We talk about this stuff on the platform all the time, the dangers of isolation. You know what I mean? And how it can affect you both mentally and physically, and how social media and the technology period, it often increases the amount of isolation that you have in your life. You know what I mean? Social media, it gives the appearance of community, but really you by yourself behind a screen, and it doesn't replace this. You know what I mean? Looking at somebody's eyes. You know what I mean? We talk, we laugh. You can feel the energy and emotion from each other, and so social media is cool. It's entertaining. You know what I mean? Like, you can stay connected. It's a great thing as far as just kind of keeping in touch. But I really want to encourage people never to underestimate the power of being connected to other human beings.
Mhm.
And so, like I said, we're talking about inspiration. What do you anybody want to have any thoughts on that? Just as far as like your creativity being spurred by your interaction with the world around you.
Do you have any thoughts on it? I do have one, Matt.
No, I
It's on
mean,
the table. Come on.
I guess one thing I just, it just came to me as you were talking. I feel like what people struggle most with when it comes to connection and interaction is the fact that people will disappoint you.
Yeah.
People will hurt you along the process. They're gonna, project their own perception of the world onto you. And sometimes it's not the most positive.
Mm-hmm.
But, that saying that they always say, beauty's in the eye of the beholder.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's within those interactions, even if it's hard, even if it hurts, it's important. And people can find inspiration out of it. Sometimes some of the most beautiful things, some of the most artistic things can come out of those difficult times or those even not so positive interactions. So I think that's an interesting question.
Yeah, that's so true. And what I had to say was, as an artist, personally, I'm inside all the time. Like, I'm painting, and then like you said, I have to do work on social media. I had to, promote myself in some way. So I'm always at home. And you said inspiration. So recently, that's what I find inspiration on these interactions, meeting other people. So actually going out into the world and doing that stuff goes against doing the art. And that kind of goes with what I'm doing now is I'll be able to go out, meet new people, go to new places, talk to people, and learn about them, learn what makes them tick, learn what drives them, and put that into the art so I could step outside. Like I could actually get out the house for once, out the studio and see the world more.
I've heard artists, a lot of art, not just actual like artists as far as you're concerned, but like musical artists or anything like that. Like people will go on a train, no destination, just ride, and you want to hear the conversations. And like when you're hearing the conversations, like I write music. I guess I write music. But I that's one of the things I struggle. I hate talking about myself.
You're a composer.
But it's part of putting yourself out there though, because it ties into it all. In my opinion, I think that even through conversation, you are putting yourself out there. Even if it's just the three of us, you are putting yourself out there, and you can't be afraid to do that. It's part of establishing connection.
It's part of the process.
You are a musician.
You're a musician.
I dabble. No, you're
I do a little something on the side.
Okay. I am a musician.
Yeah.
No, but I write, right? And so like just hearing conversations, it'll spark something in my head. I'm not involved in the conversation, just hearing interactions. And I'm like, man, that's an interesting concept. I'm like, man, that'd be interesting. And so it's that just being around other people sparks that creativity.
Yeah.
And one thing that I would really encourage the listeners, is like embrace that process. You know what I'm saying? There's certain things you're not going to be able to get just being behind your screen. Social media is cool. I'm not hating on it. Like so I hate, it's not like that, even though the title, it can be a bit deceiving. But like, you don't underestimate the power of just being around other people. You know what I mean? Because you'd be surprised, like you say, like you mentioned, like you'd be surprised what opportunities come. Yeah. You'd be surprised what ideas come into your mind just by watching other people move. I remember I was at the store with my family, and I was watching this bird. I'm sitting in the car because my wife is shopping, and you know how that can be sometimes. Shopping with females, it can be very.
It's a fun experience.
I stay in the car a lot of the time. I'm not gonna lie.
Yes, from a female's perspective, yes, it is. Yes, it can be. But I was also sitting in the car, and I'm watching this bird.
This is what we do.
Yeah.
I see.
Man. While she's deciding exactly which tomato she wants to buy. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, I'm busy. But I'm watching this bird, and I just see it going, digging the dirt, then it goes back to this other little spot, and then it comes back. It was drinking this water. It was like a little puddle of water that was left because it rained the day before. It was drinking the water, then it goes back, and it runs around, they come back and dig in the dirt again. And I was just thinking to myself, like how simple this process is for this bird. You see what I'm saying? Like, but he has a process. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's doing something. Like he has a mission and something that he's trying to accomplish. And it just dawned on me. That's what made me think about the time episode, really. Mm-hmm. Like, man, like we all have a set amount of time, you know, in the world. And the world is turning at the same time that it always has. We're moving faster because of society, but time is still ticking the same way. Like the seasons are still coming the same way. That bird is making preparation. You see squirrels running around and chipmunk late. They're making preparation for the season that is to come. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's process, and you have to go through the process. You can try to fight the process and resist the process, but you're only doing yourself a disservice. You know what I mean? Like, if you want to accomplish anything in your life, or you want to make any kind of improvements, or just understanding the life that you live, period, you have to understand patience and process. You know what I'm saying? And in all of that, right, like, we're going back to being inspired. Sometimes you got to be patient for inspiration. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't be if you're so locked in and focused on trying to get the next thing so you can get it, make it big and all that kind of jazz, like, it don't come like that. Sometimes you just take a step back and just relax and let it come to you. You know what I'm saying? Like, and just open yourself up to the world around you. You'd be surprised how much inspiration and creativity, and really you can find individuality in that process, because nobody else was watching that bird. I was the only one that was watching it. You see what I'm saying? And in that process, I'm inspired on an individual level. And then that brings out my individual creativity. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I want to kind of move forward the conversation, but unless somebody want to touch on that.
It's always nice meeting a fellow people watcher. That's all I got to say.
Yes, indeed.
You did kind of, this quote, I haven't dropped a quote in a little bit.
The Queen of Quote returns.
It's been a minute since I've said a quote.
No, actually, it hasn't. You actually been using quotes. You just hadn't been thought. You hadn't been thought.
Yeah, that's the.
Because all hail the Queen.
There's this quote that I heard a while ago, and it's that the world is a mirror, and it is. Whatever you speak into the world, it comes right back to you. And I think that's something that is the more you expose yourself to the world and to people, you start to kind of see also yourself in people. There was this woman that had said, like, when you get frustrated with a person, like someone's really angering you or upsetting you, it's probably because you find some parts of you in them. And that might sound kind of weird, but like it's a reflection. Like, if someone's walking too slow and they're in front of you and you're just getting mad at them because they're walking too slow, the issue is not that the person's walking slow, is that you're impatient. You're being impatient, you know?
Change the lens on that.
And it's interesting because it's not necessarily a direct answer as to who you are, but it's something that you have to take the time to really reflect on and build awareness on. So I think it's interesting because when you expose yourself to the world, when you expose yourself to moments, you start to open up who you are and see little aspects of who you are and learn more about yourself in the process. So.
I love that quote so much. The world is a mirror. I was just thinking while you were talking, like, I was just thinking about like the different ways the world's a mirror, like where you situate yourself, like the places you go. Like, if you're going to, you know, a bar like every day of the week, like, you're gonna become not a bar, but you're gonna become
that environment, that energy.
Environment, and then if you surround yourself by a specific group of people, you're gonna more so be like those people around you. So I like that quote. The world is a mirror. 2 more questions. It's just short and sweet.
Thank you.
That's why I begged her to be on. 2 more questions. We're gonna wrap this thing up. So I definitely want to talk about AI generated art, right? So what is your thoughts on that as a creative person yourself who creates images? What do you think about that? And do you think that it could potentially replace human artists?
I have a really unpopular opinion as an artist myself about AI art, and I believe that it can be used in a productive way.
Okay.
A lot of people see it as you generate this art and you just put it out there as that, And I get how artists can be mad about that, because you know, some piece of my painting could end up in an AI piece of artwork that you just generate. I personally have used AI art before as reference photos.
Mm-hmm.
So you know how people usually go outside and take a photo of a tree or grab it from Google. Instead of grabbing it from Google or Pinterest, you could just type in evergreen trees on AI art, and although it'll show you a mosh posh of a bunch of different people's artwork or photographs or whatever, it's better than taking a direct reference from online of someone's photograph or artwork and just copying that. So as a reference, I think it's really good to use AI art or AI generations or whatever you want to say. Yeah, but I like it. I think it's interesting.
It's a good tool.
I use ChatGPT a lot too. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie.
No, you know, man, that's one of the things we always talk about, right? Is that like it. This is my outlook on AI. I think that, I think that AI obviously is going to revolutionize the way that human beings function on every level. I think that it's going to have it's going to be a seismic shift in the way that we function. I think that the divide between the haves and have-nots is going to be even broader, because at the end of the day, AI is a tool that, if used properly, can absolutely maximize a human being's potential and productivity. The issue is that you have to have a sense of self, because you have to know who you are, and like you have to have a really strong sense of who you are and why you're using this technology for your purpose, instead of you just being a mimic, or just like I said, probably like, okay, I can be an artist too. And you're just letting AI generate stuff, and you're like thinking you're taking credit, but really you're sacrificing yourself to the tool, instead of the way you're saying it, where you use AI as a reference to be able to maximize the talent that you already have. One of the other guests we had, she's a lawyer. She talked about how she used ChatGPT to like proofread papers and things of that nature. But she's always going to go back over and make sure that everything is right. But you're gonna have a lot of people.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah. I mean, listen, it's gonna.
Yeah, she mentioned that she would never put like what is it, confidential information on there. But if she were to say like, can you analyze this if I have a passive voice? And then it'll say, oh, okay, like here, you do have a passive voice. So I thought that was really fascinating, because I mean, it's a useful tool.
Yeah. And so when you use it, right, and I'm just drop it. When you use the tool, you want to use it as a reference or a research tool. You may look and say, okay, well, for marketing purposes, like what are some of the trends that people blah 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 blah. The way that you can say this that be most effective for this demographic, this age group, blah 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 blah, and you see what it does, and then from there you can take that as a reference to try to formulate your own thoughts or your own strategy or your own way of wording it. I don't think that you should just take it for what it is and just like that. It's no different than it's the same concept as spell check, and everybody uses spell check. But if used properly, spell check can help you enhance your intellect, your ability to spell. You know what I mean? It can enhance your punctuation, your how articulate.
But it can only help you so much.
But my point, if you're purposeful in the way that you use it, right, you can enhance your vocabulary, you can enhance your punctuation. You know what I'm saying? If you focused on using it the right way, GPS, instead of just following the directions, you use it to navigate how you can navigate your city or your environment better. Yeah. Some of us.
At the end of the day, anything involved with the internet and technology is just making everything more convenient. Yeah. But with the convenience comes like a lot more that you could possibly do with your time. So you just use it. You use all these tools, and you just bunch a bunch of stuff into one day with all these tools that you have, and it is overwhelming, no matter how convenient it is, because it's just giving you more time to use more of these different tools, and then you just have so much fit into one day, a lot to process too.
Yeah, I like what you said there, because I think that's something that, you've highlighted before, and I think it's important to remember always that there is a price to pay for convenience. Like, ultimately, at the end of the day, we live in a world where it's unfortunate and it's so sad, but there is an increase in anxiety, there's an increase in depression, there's an increase in, you mentioned like suicides and stuff, and you have to kind of stop and think like, why? It's important to try to really think about it, because these are people suffering, I'm not saying AI or ChatGPT is doing this, but when you have so much convenience, you have time. When you have time, how are you utilizing it? What are you doing with it? Are you using it in a positive way where you are using it to bring out the beauty within yourself or in others? Or are you kind of like digging a hole for yourself? Are you just wallowing in negative things of who you are? What are you doing with this time? Because there's always a swap. It's just a part of the world and balance. Where you get something, you might be losing in something else. It's just how we maintain balance in the universe, So that's interesting, because even with convenience, there's a price to pay.
Yeah.
Absolutely, right? Absolutely. I think, like I said, I'm gonna say this and then we're gonna move on. With convenience, with the increase in convenience, there has to also be the increase in discipline.
Yeah, discipline is important.
That is the key.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because without the discipline part, you get soft and lazy, and then you lose yourself. You can lose yourself when things are too easy. It's like a spoiled child.
Do you ever catch yourself in those moments? You're like, I could just sit here on my phone for a few hours, scroll.
Yes.
I do that all the time.
Who has it?
And then I'll stop myself. I'm like, oh wait, you could do this. You could do that. I see the sink has dishes. Like there's so much you could do within your day. Yeah. And when you really think about it, you're like, I have nothing to do. There's always something you could figure out.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's the reason why I'm saying that. Like, the divide between the rich and the poor is gonna be
exponential.
Yes, because a lot of times people, and we're gonna go into this final question. A lot of times people judge rich people, and I'm not a rich person, so I'm not speaking to defend the rich, but like, but but a lot of times people think that people are rich, like they're greedy and that blah blah blah. But a lot of times, sometimes it can get into the greed thing, but a lot of times it's just that they've mastered self-discipline. You know what I mean? It's the way that they perceive the world and how they operate within the world that gives them the edge that they have. You know what I mean? Because the reality is that, and I don't want to get into this. It's a whole nother topic.
Yeah, it is. Honestly, but I hear you. I like this topic.
But it's a mindset. You know what I'm saying? And so if you know how to, money is a tool. If you know how to use the tool, you can build things. It's no different than a cat that have a hammer or a screwdriver. Same concept, or a paintbrush. Mm-hmm. You can create things if you know how to use the tool. Money is a tool, and they use money in order to create more opportunities to make more money and create assets. And so at the end of the day, like, AI is a tool. If you know how to use it, then you're going to increase your productivity. Use it with discipline, though. A lot of times, but a lot of people don't have the discipline, so they use it the wrong way. They just use it as a tool of convenience, and then without the discipline part, you get lost in all of that. So, okay, we'll come back. We may come around.
One quick thing to say. I think the most important thing wealthy people have learned how to utilize is time.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Like, they know how to work with what they have and use their time wisely. Super wisely.
Because time is also a tool and a resource.
Yes.
And time is money.
Time is money. Final question, and we're gonna start put a bow on this thing. What's one thing that you think that we as human beings have lost due to the full integration of the internet into our lives?
I think people have lost interpersonal connection. A lot of families are kind of, distant from one another. Friends are becoming distant from one another. And I feel like during COVID is when it just maximized, because everyone got used to that sense of being by themselves. And that's when the internet started to capitalize on itself. Like, oh, we could use this to our advantage. Like, everyone's inside with nothing to do. So yeah. Once once the internet has become, I don't know, in the future, I feel like the internet's going to become like a majority of our time, especially with like the smart goggles coming out. Like you're just going to have it on your head at all times. Man, it's wild. It's wild.
Yeah.
It is indeed wild.
Yeah.
That's the best way to sum it up. It's wild.
Yeah, it is.
Interpersonal connection, yeah.
I think it's like you're right. I think after COVID and after everyone got just so used to being online, it was just really easy because for one, you really did have to be isolated. You couldn't be around other people because COVID was going around and stuff like that. But I think that even in your own home, like that was something that was a big thing. Like people didn't really, you're so locked in the world of the internet that you really didn't maybe even talk to your sister, brother, mother, father, whoever's around. And I think that's important because ultimately at the end of the day, as we've said before, and I'll say it again, the connection you have within yourself, the connection you have with other people is far more important than any connection you could develop on the internet or on the phone or whatever. When the phone turns off, who are you? When the phone turns off, what's important to you? So it's important to kind of reconnect with that and make sure that that is what you're solidifying within yourself. So
straight up, man. That's our show for today, Mike. Man, listen, man, we appreciate you coming through.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Insightful. When I talked to you on the phone, I knew immediately. I was like, he's a very wise young man. You know what I'm saying? I say young because I'm 40.
Oh, you shouldn't.
But like, man, you know, I said I was really impressed by you know, your polish and your approach, your thoughtfulness. You know what I mean? So like I said, I really appreciate you coming through. And I know you mentioned like, man, I would have just come through and just talk about whatever topic. So we definitely had to have you come back through with us and just talk about something else we'll be talking about.
Anytime.
So,
I think that this is a great podcast. I love the conversation. I could have sat here for hours longer.
but
we don't got time.
But when we got that bill though. But anyway, that's the episode for today. We just want to encourage you, hopefully, that it was something that I know that it was something that you were able to grab from this, but the one thing that I would really hope that you would, or I guess two things, is that everything comes with time. Life is a process, and be patient with that process. In order to accomplish the things that you want to accomplish in your life, it's going to take some patience. That's one. And then two, make sure that to stay connected, not connected to the net, to the Wi-Fi, the internet, but stay connected to community and to the people in your life that matter to you. Stay connected to the world around you because it's in that process that you will ultimately find the best version of yourself. And so, and I ask you, if you're watching this, please make sure you subscribe, hit the subscribe button, like that joint, and leave a comment. You know, that'd be great. It helps us to expand our reach as far as to the next human being. If you're listening on the audio side, Spotify and Apple, we ask that you take the time to rate the show. If you don't know how, just go down and find a little 5-star thing and then hit the 5 stars. It's real easy, you know what I'm saying? All the other stars are irrelevant. Just the 5 stars is the one you need to hit. And then, and if you please, we'd ask that you also leave a quick review. It can be something as simple as we love this show. Both of those things actually also help us to continue to further the reach for this platform. We have big goals, and we're going to take our time and be patient and accomplish all the things that we desire to do. So that's the plan anyway.
Before you finish up, I just want to note, if y'all haven't noticed,
our
shirts,
I forgot. Yeah.
We can not mention our shirts. If y'all want to check it out, we have it on our site, but they're really dope. The art is awesome. But yeah, if you want another way to support the show, please rock the shirt.
Get that merch.
I co-sign the artwork that's on the shirt. I co-sign.
Thank you. See, an artist is saying this is something.
So it gotta be good. I'll simply say people like it.
People like it.
So anyway, that's it for today. Thank you for tuning in. We want to leave you like we always do, asking that you stay safe, stay blessed, and please stay here.